How do you kill someone with a rake? Well, Marcy, it's quite simple. You just shake it at them menacingly, and then maybe you'll eventually bore them to death. Oh, why is it red? Oh, mother! Blood! Blood! I'm John Renton with a retro review of Sweet 16 from 1983. You know, there was a better slasher that came out in 1983. This. Watch Sleepaway Camp. It certainly has a way better twist than Sweet 16. It's a fairly unknown slasher that has Bo Hopkins as a sheriff in a small Texas town where Melissa and her mother and her father are back in town, and then bodies start piling up when every boy in town, i.e. maybe 3, decide to hit on Melissa, who hasn't turned 16 yet, and all those boys look fairly over 18, so yay, we've got a little bit of goddamn praying going on here, but that's okay, it's Texas. I mean, I guess that's how that works. But yeah, Sweet 16. This is on Amazon currently. I decided to check it out after checking out Hell Night. And boy, I thought Hell Night was a bit shitty. This is really shitty. It has some of the worst audio mixing, ADR, whatever you want to call it, that I've heard any slasher with some kind of budget in many, many goddamn years. I know it was 1983, but it seems like they used microphones from 1943. So this was allegedly directed by a man named Jim Sotos, who did The Last Victim and Hot Moves, and hasn't done anything for a while. Speaking of not doing anything for a while, the writer named Irwin Goldman only did like one episode of some British show back in like about a decade before this. This was his last known credit, and you can see why. You absolutely can see why. So Melissa is played by Alicia Shirley. I'm going to say right now, I think everybody does the best that they can, but there is absolutely no material. The eventual twist and explanation might have worked if there was anything worth investing in. Terrible adding, terrible kills. Yeah, I didn't expect much when I saw this, but the poster looked cool. It was the girl, or at least somebody posing as the girl, in a lake, and the knife was going down through the lake to be her bottom half. Why couldn't she have been the right kind of knife woman, with the knife part on top and the lady part on the bottom? So you have Susan Strasberg, who plays Joanne Morgan. Well, she looked great, I'll say that much. You have Patrick Macnee, who's a good character actor and very, very British. My God, is he British? You have Marcy, played by Dana Kimmel, who, along with her brother Hank, they are the siblings, and therefore the children of... They are siblings, and therefore the children of Sheriff Burke, played by Bo Hopkins. I'm just going to call him Sheriff Bo, because it's funnier. And it's definitely low budget, or Bo budget as it were, but it still has enough where you can tell they at least like had halfway okay camera work, but man, that audio mixing, I'm sorry, paralyzingly awful audio mixing. Also, a lot of really awful racism, bullying, and preying on a 15-year-old girl. I don't know if that's actually what, Miss Shirley's age was at the time, but close enough for rock and roll, and certainly kind of creepy because she gets naked a couple times during it. By the way, if you're not expecting spoilers during this, then I really don't know what to tell you. We got a Larry Storch cameo. We must become huge Larry Storch fans and travel around the country studying everything about Larry Storch, learning all we can about Larry Storch. Anybody who gets that MST3K reference, I love you guys. So, Melissa's time in a small town is disturbed when the small town is besieged by a killer, and they're killing people in this small town, as a killer does. I don't know why they decided to start with Marcy reading a murder mystery novel where she was on a set that was a combination of a castle in Scotland, an Italian villa, and some night gallery bullshit. Like, well, why? Who thought that this film was a good idea? At least to present it that way. I don't mind slashers having a little bit of fun, but come on. The synth score was out of control. I think the first body comes up within like the first 15 or so minutes. And it's only like an 85-minute movie once the credits start rolling. And it feels 30 minutes longer than that. This is agonizing. I wrote, did they get mics from 1940? There's a fight in a goddamn bar. There's an Indian actor, or at least an Indian character named Jason Longshadow, who tries to protect his grandfather or father or Great, 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 great. There's another great in there, grandfather. After he's besieged by people that are very, very racist in Texas. And I do have to say, this bar set, it is literally like they just built a place for people to walk in, and they just built like a little bit, unless that's the actual bar, and if so, that is a terrible way to build your establishment. This, a couple different times, this one guy like he asked somebody, can I have the truck? I gotta drive somebody home. Well, how am I supposed to get home? I'll be back in an hour. And then, literally like 3 minutes later, it's like, well, I gotta take her home. Well, how am I supposed to get home? We're repeating lines. It's insane here. So Johnny gets killed, basically. La, 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 la. She's in love with lonely Johnny. She gets killed. There's old Indian burial grounds where Dr. Morgan, played by Patrick, is digging up old knives and stuff like that and whatever for some reason. I thought we were going to go with a spiritual, like, slasher. Somebody disturbed Indian burial grounds and got a little bit, like, nasty and everything and possessed, and you move the gravestones, but you never move the bodies. But no, we couldn't even get that. I don't think the movie could have afforded it. Marcy is reading up on this discount Stephen King book. It really just looks like a goddamn discount Stephen King book. It is insane how, close it is to the bone. So Marcy was a girl from before, reading and doing all this stuff. Welcome to Sun Valley days. The bodies are either missing or they're not worth investing in. Okay, the joke doesn't work nearly as well as it did in the Until Dawn review. So Kathy is a woman that really likes Sheriff Bowe and is calling him, and seemingly almost from another county, but I guess he can get to the city in an hour, even though I've understood there are long stretches of nothing in Texas, despite how big it is. People in Texas can share in the comments. There is a woman named Joanne, who actually was known as Joni Platt, and she grew up in this town and everything. They moved back. She talks to a man named George, and nobody really recognizes her. Then eventually people do recognize her, kind of, but also not really, and she tips that she's back after a while and everything, and her husband's doing this work, and they have a daughter, Melissa. She wants to throw a party, so everything's working out just swimmingly. This just limps along. We're 35 minutes in to an 85-minute movie before the second body piles up. I don't mind movies with a low body count, but in this, you almost just have to go pedal to the metal and just kill a bunch of goddamn people. Tommy, can you hear me? Can you feel me near you? Let me just make random references here. Marcy, it's weird because the Marcy character at first calls Melissa, like, beautiful, this kind of stuff, but also talks about how weird she is, and then a little bit later is berating her at a funeral for, I think, one of the guys. It's either Tommy or I think it's the old man, Greyfeather, but it is Greyfeather. And then it's seemingly, like, on a dime, like, hey, I'm sorry, I know, I shouldn't be like this, I've done bad stuff too. Weird tonal shifts within the same scene. It is like nobody understood how to act like an actual human in this. The more I think about Sweet 16, that is, the more angry I am. Because there was potential here. Anyway, Joanne basically always announces her arrival. Hey, I'm Joanne. Like, can I give you a ride? I'm Joanne. Can I bake you a cake? I mean, she could have at that time. I wouldn't. I'm fine. I'm fine. Maybe I really need to get out in the dating scene because I'm just finding any woman attractive, even if this is from the 1980s. Nevertheless, we get a lot of bigotry and a lot of stuff. The Jason guy gets locked up at one point, accused of committing crimes. Like earlier, before Johnny died, he grabbed Melissa's arm to tell her, "Hey, go home. This is dangerous." And then Dr. Morgan, who had Jason digging up on this, fires him because he's like, oh, he was hitting on my daughter, he was doing this stuff, and whatever. I hate this. I hate this movie so much. If the writer and director are still alive, you guys are idiots. I'm just saying that right now. Or the studio. Everybody's an idiot that was involved in this. Fuck it. I don't care if any of the actors are still alive. What the fuck is wrong with you guys? Could you guys not act like actual humans? So Kathy ends up talking to Sheriff Bo, and they study up on this and look at all microfiche and newspapers. Yes, that's right, kids. Before we had the information superhighway and high-speed internet, we had to look at old archives of newspaper clippings where you actually had to turn pages and read shit. Microfiche was actually something I had to use in high school when we didn't have full access to the computers. That was in 98 to 2000, believe it or not. So there was this one funny line where Marcy is talking to Ed. I'm just making fun of the movie by now because, as opposed to what I was doing before. But Marcy talks to Melissa and says, "You might as well have put the rope around his neck yourself, you little bitch." I don't know why. The line, that was the take they went with. What were the busted takes like? Unless there were no busted takes. Oh, there were busted takes. It was just all through this goddamn movie. Everyone is either weird or stoned is what I noted. Honestly, I would have rather followed Sheriff Bo and Kathy just having their dating exploits because it would have been far more interesting than what we got here. And she's talking about this stuff going on with Jason. He got his mother got killed in a drunk driving accident. It was an all-white judge, all-white jury, all white now. Baby, it's all white now. And he says, "I know, you know, then what's wrong? Something just isn't right." It's a top-notch dialogue exchanges here. Fucking fabulous. Kathy tells Burke, about all this stuff. They're studying up on this more. And, by the way, a little bit earlier, Sheriff Bo finds... Bo Burke, that is, finds a few of those knives that Morgan was digging up. Knives that he could sell to fund his expedition to dig up the entire Indian burial grounds. We could just leave this stuff alone, but why do that? A lot of white people were responsible for all the eradication of this for no reason. But nevertheless, they go back to 1956. And Joni Platt was found dead. Wait a second. That's who Joanne says she is. Oh no, wait, it isn't. We, by the way, are stumbling to the conclusion here, dragging ourselves like Carrie Strug broke both legs and both arms. That is an old reference even for me. But now the party's going on. We have Melissa and Hank. Hank is Marcy's brother, skinny dipping. The two old racists show up. Jason has broken out of jail by beating up a guy named Frank. And when you have a man named Frank on the case with a mustache like that, you know your town is fucked. Not knocking the actor, just knocking the goddamn character. He ends up going for the two racist guys who, I know they have names, I don't care, but he tries to attack them, they knock him out, and then they prey on Melissa, by the way, who is supposed to be 15. Now, the actress could have been 20. I don't goddamn know. I don't necessarily care. As long as everybody was on board with all this stuff. But then it suddenly turned into Last House on the Left. Almost. Thank God it didn't get that far. And then suddenly another stabbing. So two people get stabbed. And this is after, by the way, Melissa gets knocked out by one of the guys. So we have, I think, we have 5 bodies, but 4 were killed by the killer. And who is the killer? It's Joanne, except it's not Joanne, it's Trisha, because she had a sister. Joni Platt took her own life. Trisha took over her life because of some stuff that the dad did back a while ago. This is all explained in the last few minutes. I do want to point out, by the way, how incredibly bad the killer reveal is. And not so much that it's that's Joni, Trisha, whatever, because I think everybody figured that out with the fact she said, "Oh, you don't recognize me?" It's kind of tipping the point also there weren't a lot of characters it really could have been. It wasn't going to be Jason. But the reason that this made me laugh is she is over her daughter's body trying to wake her up. Hank has been stabbed in the arm, but he's right behind. So you have Joan, Trisha, you have them, her and Melissa, like right here. Yeah, right here. This is Melissa, this hand right here moving the finger, and this is Joan. So doing this, you have Billy just a little bit behind. You have Sheriff Bo Burke as well as Marcy right here in the foreground. So you just have these characters that are really clustered weirdly close to each other, while Joni Tricia has a knife, and Bo Burke is trying to tell her, "Hey, give me the knife. Don't worry. You've killed your dad. He can't hurt you anymore. He can't take anything away from you anymore." So awkwardly done and formatted and everything. And by the way, Dr. Morgan apparently either knew that was a sister or never knew that was a sister. Or thought he could fix her. I Can Fix Her, the ultimate I Can Fix Her movie. Besides maybe High Tension, which I probably should rewatch at some point, even though, my God. But Melissa, by the way, has totally goddamn snapped. Because, she just saw the woman that raised her, that was her mother, basically kill people. And also she takes the same damn knife and has it underneath the coat. And an investigation is going on while Sheriff Bo Burke Hopkins is looking around. And all these cops are there, but she goes into this, room, seemingly to kill somebody, but we don't get that far because we just cut to her, we just stop at her eyes, and that's it. It was the idea that it was supposed to be like this Indian artifact, takes your soul on your sweet 16th birthday. Here's the thing. Even if you pay attention to every minute detail about this, you are still going to leave monumentally just confused as to how the fuck they thought this formatting was actually going to work. So that's it. Sweet 16 is terrible. Really, really terrible. Check out my Letterboxd if you want to see what else I've reviewed. I did all the VHS movies in, some kind, but I got more retro stuff and more movies coming up at some point. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Ritlin. That's me, and I'll see you soon.